Israeli warplanes have again hammered neighbourhoods in Gaza, reducing buildings to rubble and sending people scrambling to find shelter. Across the border in southern Israel, the true scale of atrocities committed by Hamas is becoming clearer. In the rural village of Kfar Aza, entire families, including babies, have been slaughtered. Nick Dole has been in southern Israel from where he filed this report, and a warning it does contain some confronting details.
After 4 days of war, the Israeli army is now back in control of this village close to the border with Gaza. Soldiers entered Kfar Aza, the sound of gunfire echoing all around them. In the village, there's evidence of a massacre. Entire families, including babies and grandparents, were murdered here. This close-knit community terrorised by Hamas militants. Soldiers say some of the victims were decapitated.
They kill them and they cut some of their heads. It's an aggressive thing to see. It's very difficult to see it. But we must remember who is the enemy and what our mission.
These experienced soldiers are struggling with the horror here. The survivors are still living through it.
Sometimes it's just too hard to handle. The things that we saw, the things that we heard, it's unbelievable.
We heard shootings and we were basically barricaded in for 21 hours until the army rescued us.
The Israeli army was caught off guard. So many communities on the border were under attack at the same time. Some rescues took hours. Video is emerging of the moments Hamas gunmen entered villages and cities. There's Hamas, this man shouted as he saw heavily armed gunmen arrive in his neighbourhood. In brutal scenes, these terrorists can be seen executing civilians wherever they find them. These Israeli women got caught in the crossfire of a fierce gun battle until they were finally rescued. All along the border region, Israeli forces are still on the lookout for Hamas gunmen who might be hiding. On the road towards Gaza, there are regular reminders of the horrors that took place here. This driver had no idea what they were heading into. They tried to accelerate past the gunmen, but the car is sprayed with bullets. Even if they'd survived the initial attack, they may have had to endure an even more frightening ordeal at the hands of the terrorists.
We're less than 5 kilometres from the Gaza border. Hamas militants came right through here. Now, the Israeli military says we can't go any further than this point. Doing so, they say, would put us within range of snipers in Gaza.
Israel continues to hammer Gaza with airstrikes, reducing building after building to rubble. Food, water and electricity supplies have been cut off. Israel says it's targeting Hamas positions, but hundreds of civilians, including women and children, have been killed. Palestinian authorities say many more have been injured.
I lost everything. My house, my shop has been destroyed completely. Where do we go? We have become homeless.
Israel has pledged to eliminate Hamas and is vowing Gaza will never return to what it was before. For the Palestinian people living here, that promise has already been delivered.
The death toll on both sides of this war has risen sharply. Israel says 1,200 of its citizens, most of them civilians, have been killed. In Gaza, officials say at least 950 Palestinian lives have been lost. Let's bring in correspondent Nick Dole. Nick, Israel is continuing to build up its forces along the Gaza border.
Good evening, Jeremy. That's right. Israel says it's still moving more infantry and artillery units into position. When we were down near the border earlier, we saw troops and tanks and fuel trucks and other logistics vehicles. So certainly they are assembling there. They appear to be preparing for the possibility of a ground assault. But a decision to launch an operation like that will not be taken lightly. That would involve close combat in one of the most densely populated places on the planet, going house to house, building to building, and that's exactly the kind of warfare that Hamas is preparing for. It also has the potential to not only cause a high number of IDF casualties, but also civilian casualties. And civilians in Gaza are already feeling the full effect of Israel's operation, not only from the airstrikes, but now the full blockade. And officials in Gaza say the only power plant there will run out of fuel in just a matter of hours.